So I'm going to show you all this really cool effect I've been using a lot lately. It's a Slinky-like effect. I'm going to show you all two ways I do it. One with the cube map, and one with an impossible tunnel. An example of it is being shown right now, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is open up a new project. I'm going to select Templates, 4-layer, VJ Starter. The reason I'm using that one is because it comes with some LFOs already enabled. This makes it quicker for us to get going. I'm going to lower the opacity of the layers I'm not using and increase the opacity of the one I am, in this case, layer 3. I'm going to select the clip I want to use, and immediately I see an effect is already being applied. I'm going to turn that off. So the first effect I'm going to show is using a cube map. So I'm going to go to VDMX, cube map. So the first thing I do whenever I start using a new effect is I play with the parameters. In this case, there are 5 parameters: an X rotation, a Y rotation, a Z rotation, a size, and video input. So let's see what those do. The X rotation spins it around, the Y rotation spins it, the Z rotation spins it, and the size takes it from the front to the back. The video input allows you to select a layer to feed into it. This is going to be useful for us, and is actually what we're going to do first. I'm going to select layer 3. That's the same layer that's being used. And what that's going to do is going to create duplicate copies of the cube map when we change the size. So as I bring the size up, and then when I bring it down, you see duplicate copies of it being created. The size and the thickness of those copies is depending on the speed in which I'm moving this size. Right now, I'm doing it manually. To make it easier, I can automate that process by applying an LFO to it. So let's do that. I'm going to right-click it, say Use Data Source, LFO1, Sign. And now we see it going from the front to the back, and it's an automated process. It's a bit too excessive though, so we can clamp that range that it's modulating between. So I'm going to drag the max, I'm going to drag it down, I'm going to grab the min and drag it up. And now the range is much smaller, and it's not as excessive. I can change that speed at which the effect is being modulated by going to the LFO and changing the rate. I'm going to bring it up to about 4, and now you see the copies are being created less frequently. If I increase it even more, the effect becomes more pronounced. I'm going to bring it back down to about 2, and that looks pretty cool. Let's go ahead and try one of the other parameters and see what those do. Let's use the Y rotation. I'm going to apply data source to it again, LFO2 cosine. And now we see it spinning around. And what that's doing is creating almost like a curved effect. So that's pretty cool. That was using a cube map. Now let's try using an impossible tunnel. It's in VDMX impossible tunnel. Immediately we see an effect that's already being applied, and it looks really cool. It looks really similar to the cube map. And again, let's start playing with the parameters and see what they do. I'm going to change that Z offset. And that one looks really cool, and it's probably the one we're going to want to automate. The X rotates it, the rotate Y rotates it, the rotate Z rotates it. And the center allows you to change the center at which, I guess, the rotate Y and the rotate X are being, what their center is. We're not going to use that one. I'm going to turn down the rotate X, the rotate Y, and the rotate Z down to 0. And I'm going to apply an LFO to the Z offset. So I'm going to right-click it, say Use Data Source, LFO1, Sine Wave. And now it's going from front to back. It's a bit fast, so I'm going to turn that rate down to 1. And now we have this really cool Slinky-like effect being applied. To get it close to how I had it in the example, I'm going to modulate one of these other parameters. So let's see what they do. The X brings it from up to down, the Y left and right, and the Z kind of flips it. We're not going to use the Z or the Y. To get it how I had it in the video, I'm going to rotate on the X. I'm going to say Use Data Source, LFO2, cosine. And now we see it kind of flipping around. And that's a bit excessive, so let's bring that max value down and clamp it to a much more reasonable range. And now it kind of creates this effect where it's going up high and then going back low. And I can decrease it a little bit more, so now it's pretty cool. To get it even closer to how I had in the video, I'm going to show you the other effects I used. These are effects that I really like to use, such as the VHS glitch. That's in the retro. So I apply that, and immediately it makes it look really cool. I'm just going to leave it as is. The next effect I'm going to use is again in the retro. It's the zooming feedback. Let's apply that. And now again, another really cool effect, but I'm going to shift that X position over a little bit. And I'm going to bring that wet dry down so it blends between the two values. I might bring it up a little bit more, somewhere about right there. That looks pretty cool. Now, the final one I was using on there was a RGB Trails. That's in VDMX, RGB Trails 2.0. And immediately we see it kind of looks really cool, very delayed and dreamy. That's great. We can increase the R weight, so we have the reds being shifted. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn that wet dry down, because I only had a small amount of it being applied. And now we have the finished product. I'm going to show you what that looks like. It looks really cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And please let me know what you all think of these two effects. And I hope you find them useful. Thanks.